Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Apples and Genos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. My name is Nate Grutniblink. I'm the creator of Apples and Genos, originator of the Zero G Draft Strategy, and contributor to Yahoo Fantasy. In this podcast, Blake and I are going to talk about the biggest hot shots and have-nots of the last 5 games. Let's hit it. Now, of course, I have your friend and my best friend, Blake Creamer, here with me. Blake, how are you feeling tonight?
Awesome, buddy. Two of the biggest hot shots in the biz right here. Nate and Blake, they go together like peanut butter and jelly. That's how we do. All right. Actually, I have a really ridiculous addiction to peanut butter. I don't know why I'm getting into this, but yeah, I can't have it in the house. But recently, my wife went to Costco and bought that massive, just feed bag of Kraft peanut butter. Oh my God. I eat it like pudding. I don't know. Where are you at with peanut butter, Nate? Let's get down to brass tacks here.
Peanut butter is absolutely elite. Unfortunately, my wife has decided that we'll only have the all natural, all peanut stuff and none of the icing sugar goodness that is Kraft peanut butter. And so that's really kind of taken all the joy out of peanut butter for me. I think I need to hide a little, one of those, what are they, 500 milliliter ones? Get one of those little ones and just hide it in one of my desk drawers down here. And I can just spoon feed myself while I podcast with you here.
Buddy, that's absolutely reasonable. You know what we need in our peanut butter? Hydrogenated vegetable oil. That's what makes it good. Right? Don't give me this natural crap. I don't know. I'm getting worked up here. It's scary.
All right. On that note, let's get into some newsies. Let's talk about Patrick Kane. Apparently, according to Elliot Friedman, over the weekend, we're close. It sounds like sometime early this week we should have some sort of decision from Kane on what he's going to be doing. Sounds like there are multiple teams interested. Florida is considered by a couple of insiders to be a front runner. Detroit is apparently also in the running, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because Kane has talked about wanting to go to a cup contender, and while Detroit seems to have played a little bit better this year than they have in years past, I don't know if you can go straight to cup contender with how things are going there. Yeah, Friedman said even with those two teams coming up, he's not confident that that he'll end up signing with either of those two teams. Sounds like there's still some secrecy and things to be worked out. So keep your eyes peeled for a Patrick Kane announcement. Even if he does sign on Monday, let's say, even if he does make the official announcement, he might need a week, 2 weeks, who knows, before he gets integrated with the new team and actually steps foot on the ice. Honestly, I've just been pretty hands off with Patrick Kane. How are you treating him, Blake?
Yeah, I'm not interested. I don't know. Maybe I'm the oddball here, but I'm just not. I'm not too interested in it. It's certainly not going to be like a league-winning move, like stashing Patrick Kane. I mean, we saw kind of what this is going to look like last year with the Rangers, right? And yeah, this is a guy who's going to get put in offensive situations, but I don't know, he's not the same level of player. And plus, he's not going to get that crazy deployment, right, that he got in Chicago, which was well over 20 minutes, that really, made Kane cook, right? And he's just not going to get that most likely with the new team. So I don't know. I'm kind of out on it. I don't know, Dev, what are you doing with Kane?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'd rather him go to a not cup contending team and get all those minutes somewhere, right? But it sounds like that's probably not what's going to happen. If he did get, 20 plus minutes again, if someone's going to play him like Chicago played the prime Patrick Kane for all those years, then sure, I'm interested in that just by virtue of deployment. But yeah, I think the underlying metrics have declined a little bit. He was never an elite metrics guy. He was just always pretty efficient and got a ton of ice time. So yeah, I'm not super excited about Kane. I've been pretty hands-off. I think you do more harm to your lineup holding a guy like this and not getting any production out of him. Even if you go out and sign him to your squad on Monday and he doesn't play for 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks that you're really handcuffing yourself and putting yourself behind the 8 ball in your matchups. And yeah, like you said, I don't think it's going to be a league-winning matchup, and so I've just been pretty hands-off. Another player that we need to talk about is Shea Theodore, who is placed on injured reserve. He's going to miss at least 2 more games for Vegas with an upper body injury. yeah, it's a tough spot, but at least we know what to expect there. You can expect Pietrangelo to get some extra minutes there in the meantime. And we'll actually talk about Pietrangelo a little later on. Timo Meier was back on the ice as of Saturday. Apparently, didn't actually skate all that much, shot around a little bit, talked to the trainers, and went off again. So, yeah, it seems like this day to day thing is really lingering on with Timo Meier, but that is at least one positive step along the way to recovery. Eunice Corpusalo also returned to practice Sunday, and Matt Sogard was sent back down to AHL Belleville, so it sounds like Corpusalo is good to go. Brian Rust didn't play Saturday, still considered day-to-day with his lower body injury, so your guess is as good as mine there, what's going to happen. But, yeah, you would expect that as soon as he's back, he's going to go straight back to, yeah, tons and tons of deployment, especially with Raquel out now as well. Philip Grubauer practiced Saturday. This was, quote, the step we were looking for, according to Dave Haxtell. So it sounds like, yeah, I talked on the last pod about, if Grubauer is going to be out for any time. There wasn't a lot of news around it that we'd be interested in Decord or even Driedger, who was called up. But I think the most likely scenario now is Grubauer is going to be good to go for the Kraken's next game here, and we're going to see Driedger sent down, and it's going to be back to the same old Grubauer and Decord kind of passing the ball off between them, who can be the least terrible. Luke Shen was activated off IR. If anybody's holding him, if you're in a Bangers Cats, Luke Shen is actually a player. I actually did hold Luke Shen in a Bangers Cats all week, all season, I should say, and all week this week, only to get this one game out of him, and he's really going to lock down the hits and blocks for me tonight, which is nice. So we also have to talk about Big Kuzi, unfortunately, or more appropriately, bench Kuzi, because he was benched again last night on Saturday night, Blake. Yeah, what can you say at this point? But not good signs for bench Kuzi.
Definitely not a good sign. You know what? They need to get this man some more Pepsi and more bananas. All right. I think he's changed a little bit in his routine. He's going oranges and Coke now, and it's just not working. Right? So bench Kuzi, get back on the bananas, my man. Just don't make eye contact with anybody while you're eating it. All right. We don't do that. All right. That's fine.
All right. We've also got Svechnikov on power play 1 over Niches now. Finally, we get some Svech PP1 time, and what do you know? Goal and an assist tonight. Still just 15 minutes time on ice, which is not what we want to see, but RBA gonna RBA. DeBrincat on power play 2 and line 2 in Detroit. That's not what we want to see. Played under 16 minutes the last couple of games. I know this hurts you personally, Blake, so if you need to air your grievances, you can do so now.
Oh, man. Yeah, it does hurt me. Like, first off, Joe Veleno, why? Who is this man? I mean, it's basically like he was like one of the trainers or something. They're like, buddy, can you play? Like, do you want to hear? Here's a jersey, get on there, right? They're putting him over to break it. Oh God. I don't know. It's working, right? They're winning. I said this to Nate, and he's like, they're winning. I'm like, damn it, no. Yes, but they are winning, and now they got JT Compher on the top power play instead of DeBrincat. I don't know what's going on, but I'm hoping that DeBrincat's going to get back. But this deployment's a little troubling to me. Yeah, 2 games under 16 minutes, like, that's less than he was getting in Ottawa, right? So we need DeBrincat back up around the 18 to 20 minute mark. 20 minutes and up, please. Can we make this happen? I don't know.
Yeah, that's what we need. Unfortunately, not getting it. I do think like it's going to blow over. I think DeBrincat, like he's been brought in there to do one thing, and that's to play on the top line, top power play. They're moving things around, getting some results right now, but I completely expect it to flip back in pretty short order here. All right, let's dig into the main meat of the episode here. Let's talk about some hot shots. I just want to give some props to some guys who've been absolutely lighting it up. We expected them to, but maybe not even to this extent. Nikita Kucherov has 12 points in his last 5 games, and Cale Makar has 9 points in his last 5 games. These guys are just absolutely elite at what they do. And I'm curious your thoughts, Blake. Like, where are these guys going? I think they are a little bit underrated, right? In a lot of drafts, they were, Cale Makar fell out of the first round in most drafts, honestly. And Nikita Kucherov was disrespected, in my opinion, and dropped behind some other players who've not put together the kind of success that he's exhibited for a long time. Where do you think Kucherov and Makar would go if you're doing a redraft, some sort of, normal kind of points league with a little bit of bangers? But where do you think these guys would be going nowadays?
Like for next season, you mean? Or like if we just
If you're
redraft him
just
for something?
redrafting right now,
I mean, he's got to go with that 4 spot, right? I mean,
at
it,
least.
yeah, minimum, really. Like 35 points in 20 games. This is, he's done this before. I mean, not this pace, right? This would be a career high pace for him. But remember when we're doing projections, and I dug into Kucherov a little bit, and I felt like I wanted to regress him a little bit. I'm like, no, he's 113 points, no. And I was like, his shooting percentage was down. His on ice shooting percentage was down. You know, like he only got 30 goals last year. I actually, once I dug in, I was like, I think he could actually do more, right? So
Yeah.
I was low key excited about Kucherov, but he has this moniker, right? This injury plagued moniker. Like, what does he have to do to shake it, right? He had 2 seasons where he missed games, but before that, he played 80 and 82, and then he played 82 last season. So
Yeah.
this injury thing is just a bunch of crap, right? And this is why this man gets disrespected. I mean, he's not an old man by any means either. He's only 30, like, and he's crushing. His shooting percentage is high at 16.3, but he's done that before. He's done that
Yeah.
for a full season. That's something that he can sustain, and he is shooting the lights out. I mean, 4.6 shots on goal per game. That, I mean, if he could maintain that, that would be insane, right? That's like David Pastrnak numbers, right?
Yeah.
So he's shooting more, he's converting more, and the team is going ballistic. And his ice time right now is absolute career high, 21 and a half minutes average time on ice. Everything is aces up for Cooch, and I love it. I think that's great. So I'm a big fan of Cooch, and I think he can maintain this if he doesn't get injured.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. And as far as Makar goes, like, I think he should be in first rounds. Like, he's just so consistent. There's nobody who touches him. We talked about Makar and Yossi being a little bit of a tier. Maybe that was a little bit of a misstep on our part. Yossi actually going off tonight. He has 3 points against
Okay.
the Jets
All
here
right.
tonight. So he's maybe working his way back. He hasn't had the normal stellar season so far that we've come to expect, but yeah, he was still on a 52-point pace before this game, so it's not like he was actually doing all that terribly. But regardless, Makar is absolutely lighting things up right now. He had the pretty well publicized 3-game stretch where he had 3 assists and 3 straight games. And yeah, he's just doing the thing, doing what we honestly should expect. 123-point pace. Don't think that's going to keep up, but I mean, the guy's elite. What can you say? I totally expect him to be right there every single season. Like, I honestly think he's probably like a 90-point pace player for his career every single season. I don't really know why you'd expect differently unless, you know, the Avs really tear it down at some point and they start to lose some of their stars. So just want to give those guys their props at the beginning here. And then we can talk about a Makar teammate who's been popping off lately. Val Nichushkin, 4 goals, 8 points in his last 5 games. He skated 27-21 the other night. And yeah, there was a lot of questions about should we be dropping Nichushkin, and it looked that way, quite honestly. Like, it looked like he was trending towards like they didn't want to use him anymore, and all of a sudden the complete reverse has happened, and now Nichushkin is like just a star in the eyes of Jared Bednar, and he's playing all the minutes at every strength. And yeah, this is the result. I think Nichushkin is a talented player. The underlying metrics are solid, but not spectacular by any stretch. 99th in shots per 60, 102nd in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, pretty similar in on-ice numbers over these last 5 games. But he's skating nearly 24 minutes a night on average in those 5 games, and so you can see how the power of multiplication works in his favor there. Now on the season, he's up to a 78-point pace. Are you taking a hard under on that, or are you feeling like, you know, if everything continues to go this way, could it be a Nichushkin season where he does put up 70 plus?
Yeah, I would say if this deployment holds, 78 points, book it.
Yeah.
That's reasonable to me. Like, not only is he playing this insane amount of ice time, but he's playing with Rantanen and McKinnon at even strength, and then on power play 1. I mean, it doesn't matter what your metrics are at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I guess it does. We looked at Ryan Johansson and some other players that aren't popping off the way this man is. He's really good, but damn, 27 minutes for a forward. It's great to see. And I had Nichushkin. I'm going to pat myself on the back. I mean, this isn't rocket science, but I had him on my must roster when he was under 50%. Like, you got to get this guy in your team ASAP. And then of course, you know, just like I predicted, just kidding. But yeah, he popped off. Right. And I didn't expect him to all of a sudden go from 15 minutes a night to like 22. but that's
Yeah.
what they're doing. And this is kind of what they did last season with him and Lehkonen. So yeah, Lekkonen's not coming back anytime soon. He just got a neck brace off, so he's out for a long time. Nichushkin's good to go. They roll with this man, 78 points, bang. I love that. And if you pick them up when he was under 50%, you're laughing. You're loving life.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's keep rolling and talk about a couple of defensemen who are popping off themselves. We got Shane Gostisbehere, who went off in the game today and now has 9 points in his last 5 games. And you've also got Josh Morrissey, who has 8 points in his last 5 games. Both have a couple goals. Some really good stuff going on here for both of these guys, obviously. There was a lot of talk about Josh Morrissey last year, how sustainable was the breakout. We are now 19 games into his season, and he's got 18 points. Are we thinking that this is an indication of something at this point, that he's just ascended to a new level of efficiency, a new level of production, or do you still have reservations, Blake?
I think we have to sit up and take notice of this. Like, this is a good sample size, 20 games, 18 points, 74-point pace. Pretty damn nice. I don't think he'll reach 74, but I think 60 and 60 plus is reasonable for this player. And that's a great season for Josh Morrissey. Like, even though he did so well last year, he still wasn't getting drafted like insanely high. Right. So, and I think too, in Winnipeg, obviously he's Bonus's guy. Like, when Bonus came in, this guy started getting all the deployment, all the power play. That's amazing. That's continued this year. But that team is kind of stabilized a little bit, right? Like, there was reports of Mark Scheifele, Hellebuck getting the hell out of town, right? And then they went and signed those guys. So I feel like we might be able to have kind of a repeat of last year. I don't think we'll get 76 points again, but like I said, 60 plus I think is absolutely reasonable. He's doing well in the power play already. Like, it's just good. The Jets have been surprising this year. So yeah, I'm a fan of Morrissey. I didn't pick him up anywhere. I just didn't like the value, and I was looking for other things at those times. Did you get Morrissey anywhere, Nate?
No, usually somebody else was a little bit more bought into last year than I was, and I'm just willing to fade guys who have the 1 year big breakout in most cases, unless I'm like really sold on the underlying metrics there. Wasn't that case with Morrissey, and so I don't have him anywhere. But yeah, I would say that this is obviously a step in the right direction towards believing that he can keep up some of this efficiency that he exhibited last year. On the season, he's to a 50% IPP, 7.1% shooting percentage, 13% on ice shooting percentage. I honestly think like he might be close to a 50% IPP player, which is pretty remarkable for a defenseman. But honestly, Winnipeg is so top heavy, and he seems to be one of those players on the top side of that top heaviness. So I think he might be close to that kind of player, and the on-ice shooting percentage is one thing that I think could regress a little bit for him. I could see him get back down to, maybe 11, 11 and a half, and that would still be pretty remarkable for a defenseman, but it would take a pretty solid chunk out of his point total, maybe put him back into the 65-point range instead of the 78 where he's at right now. So that would be my take on Morrissey. I think it's a good sign and pretty good indication that last year wasn't a total fluke, but I don't think he's going to be at a 78-point pace all season long. Gostisbehere actually also on the exact same point pace, 78-point pace on the season, ranks 15th amongst all defensemen, individual scoring chances for per 60 on the season. That's a good number. On ice numbers, 27th amongst all defensemen in scoring chances for per 60. That's also pretty good. Obviously, a fair bit of that comes from the fact that he's under 20 minutes average time on ice, but he is getting top power play more often than not, and he's been absolutely dealing from that spot in the last little bit here, including this massive game today where he blows up for a goal and 3 assists, and that was actually in under 19 minutes in the game today. So what's your take on Gostisbehere here, Blake? Do you think that this is a player who's actually going to take off and be call it 60 plus points? Take the over under at 60. What are you taking there?
Oh, that's putting me in a hard spot there. Giggity. This guy's a great power play player. Like, there's no question there. This is not a guy I'm super familiar with. I haven't watched him a lot, but like, we've talked about him a lot. We looked at the numbers, and yeah, he's not going anywhere off power play 1 there in Detroit. He's really cooking. 10 power play points already. Over under 60. I think I could see a world where he gets No, you know what? I'm going to go under. I'm going to go 55 to 59 points for Shane Gostisbehere. I don't like that ice time. I really don't like that
Yeah.
ice time. So, and I don't think that's coming back, right? I don't see why they're going to all of a sudden start trotting him out there for 24 minutes. So that said, I mean, he's a very valuable defenseman in fantasy. You probably got him with one of your last picks. And it's just a good player. He's not going anywhere on power play 1, but yeah, I don't think he's reaching 60 points this year, just based on the fact he's going to have a stretch where like he plays like 16 minutes, and then 18 minutes and does nothing. Right. So when Detroit's power play is going, which it was early in the season, and it has, recently here as well, then he's going to pop off with games like this. But yeah, I wouldn't expect 4-point games very often here from this player.
Yeah, I definitely take the under on 60. It's still a little concerning to me. Like, he was scratched for a game, and he's had multiple games this year where he's been, under 16 minutes, under 15 minutes.
Yep.
That's not something you want to see out of your guy. But I mean, just imagine once again with me if the Leafs had signed this guy instead of John freaking Klingberg, where we could have been at on the season. All right, let's move on. I don't want to dwell on that any longer than I have to. We got to talk about Philip Forsberg, who's absolutely just crushing this entire season. I'm starting to get questions like, would you take Forsberg or would you take Matthew Tkachuk? Like, these are the kinds of questions that I'm getting right now from people out in the wild, and it's legitimate. Like, look at what Forsberg is doing. He's got 7 points his last 5 games. He's doing it once again here tonight in this game against Washington. He's got another assist tonight. Like, he continues to just put something on the board in every single game. He's also got 3 hits here tonight. They're not through the second period yet as we were recording. He's doing it, right? Like, he's got 5 goals, 7 points in his last 5 games, just under 19 minutes average time on ice through that stretch, 3rd in shots per 60, 3rd in shot attempts per 60, 24th in individual scoring chances for per 60. The on-ice numbers are terrific. 12th in Corsi for per 60, 14th in scoring chances for per 60. Every time you think he might take a little bit of a step back, he seems to be taking a step forward. That's what you want to see on the season. Like, it's still right up there. He's averaging over 19 minutes, 5th in shots per 60, and 27th in both on-ice numbers, Corsi for per 60 and scoring chances for per 60. Like, I look at the IPP, 77%, the shooting percentage, 13.4%, on-ice shooting percentage, 12.4%. I'm trying to find the number there that's super unsustainable, and I cannot find it. What do you think, Blake?
Yeah, I love that. Because I've been thinking the same thing. Like, is this guy a sell high? Like, I'm not getting off Philip Forsberg. I've got him in 4 spots. Like, I'm just gonna ride this till the wheels fall off, because there's nothing here that says to me like he's overreaching, right? His shooting percentage is completely reasonable, right? He's in his big year in 2021. He actually shot 18.6%. This year he's shooting 13.3%, right? So he can sustain that level of shooting percentage and even higher for a full season, right? Not to mention, like, he is shooting more, right? His shots on goal per 60, his shots on goal just in general per game, higher than he's had before. But, he's also had other weapons on the team to use before. Now, he's the guy, right? He's the trigger man in every play, right? He doesn't have a Matt Duchene. He doesn't have a Ryan Johansson. He doesn't have those players, right? So it's him and Yossi basically just running the show. And, Ryan O'Reilly has been a really nice supplement piece to Philip Forsberg. Like, they've had chemistry right off the bat. They're playing well together. They got Gustav Nyquist on there now, and he's doing well too. So I don't see a regression here. So just enjoy it. If you got Philip Forsberg, like, this is, again, a player that you and I talked about. I talked about on Cream of the Crop quite a bit. Like, this is a trade target. Get this guy. I was able to go get him in a trade, and I just don't see how you're getting him now, just the way he's playing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know if I can fully ascribe to the 100+ point pace, but I think 90+ is the expectation at this point. And everything is running through Forsberg. It's a little bit more Forsberg centric, a little less Yossi centric than it has been in the past. But I think both players are going to be just fine there in Nashville this year. Moving on, let's talk about Drake Batherson, a guy that a lot of people wanted to move off of. They were asking me for permission to move off of Drake Batherson, and they were heartily denied each and every time. And that's because Drake Batherson has now proceeded to put up 7 points in his last 5 games with 4 goals, doing this in under 18 minutes of ice a night. 34th in shots per 60, down at 192nd in individual scoring chances for per 60, 44th in Corsi for per 60, 96th in scoring chances for per 60. see. I think it's kind of important to note, like, he's been a fixture on Power Play 1, and that was my thesis on Batherson this year.
Yep.
I've heard them talk about how they like to run their power play. Batherson's a big part of that. Don't see that going away anytime soon. But he has still been floated around the lines a little bit and has been floated down to the third line at times. And that's the part that's a little bit concerning with Batherson, is when he goes cold, does he get pushed down the lineup? And that has happened. And lately that's happened, and he's been able to score through it, which is pretty exciting for me. I think that Batherson is on the come up. This is real right now on the season, 31 goal pace, 61 point pace. I think he's on track to hit that, and I might even take the over there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This is a player that is trending in the right direction. It's exactly what we want to see. Ottawa as a team has you know, they've been underachieving offensively, right? But they have all the tools, and that power play is and should be lethal moving forward, right? So if his spot seems pretty secure there, like you said, they like to use Drake Batherson there. So I think that's going to be good. This guy got 29 power play points last season on that team. And he was one of the guys, the classic Ottawa Senators last year, that really couldn't get a lot done at even strength, right? And that might be the case again this season. And that's all right. I mean, last season he got 62 points in 82 games. If he does that again, I mean, that so be it. That's a nice season from this player, because he bangs, right? He's great in category leagues as well. So you have banger waiting, or you're in a cast league, he's going to do that too. I'm a big fan of the player. I think, I'd like to see him get off that third line. Like, who's he playing with the other night? Some rando. What the hell was his name? Robbie Jarventi. Get this. Can you put this man with some players, please? We got Josh Norris out here. Batherson likes to play with them. Get them together. All right, what are we doing? But yeah, I'm a big fan of the player, and I think he's trending upwards. So let's go.
Right. We do need to go to Boston. We need to talk about the fact that they moved off of, I guess, Patrice Bergeron. David Krejci retired in the offseason. Everybody's like, oh no, this guy is falling. The Bruins can't be good ever again, only to have the new Patrice Bergeron, Charlie Coyle, and the new David Krejci, Pavel Zacha, enter stage left. And now apparently Charlie Coyle is a world beater. He's got 7 points his last 5 games, but more importantly, he's on a 78-point pace on the season as well. 37 goal pace. What is happening? That's the question I was going to ask you, Blake. What is happening with Charlie Coyle?
Damn. No, I was going to wait for your explanation. Then I was just going to parrot it. But, you know, he's getting more deployment. He's kind of right around his ice time, but he's getting deployment with better players, right? And they're leaning on him more to do some stuff, right? Like, this is a player that was kind of a role player, get out there, grind, win faceoffs, right? But now he's kind of doing that, but they want him to do a little bit more, right? And he has been opportunistic, right? Like, shooting percentage on the season, 23.1%. That is too high. All right. This man, this isn't even bench koozie numbers. All right. No, 23.1%. That should regress down. And, you know, in the last 5 games, his shooting percentage is almost 29%. So, yeah, he's on a heater right now, no question. And this guy should absolutely be rostered for next week, where Boston has 4 games, right? But it's a nice little run for Charlie Coyle. I definitely wouldn't expect 78 points. I think, honestly, this is a player that is closer to 50 to 60 points. I don't see how he's going to get 78 points, but you just can't bet against Boston, can you? Like, I was with you 2 seasons ago. I was with you a season ago. Like, no, this is the year. Like, they're just well coached. They have the right pieces in the right places, and they play the right way. So, and they have good goalies. They're probably the best tandem goalies in the league. Besides the last 2 games where they stunk, but it's a nice spot for Charlie Coyle, and he's definitely can provide you some value on your fantasy team.
Yeah, I think that Coyle is definitely overperforming. I'm not sold on this whatsoever. I honestly don't even know if I'd consider him a must roster for this streaming week here. He does have 4 games and 2 off nights, but Yeah, the underlying metrics are not kind to Charlie Coyle. In the last 5 games here, he's up at 85th in shots per 60, which is respectable. 126th in individual scoring chances for per 60. On ice numbers are terrible. 322nd in Corsi for per 60, 275th in scoring chances for per 60. And honestly, like if you look at the season numbers, that's where he's lived in both the individual and the on ice numbers. And really, he's riding an 83% IPP, a 23% shooting percentage, and a 14.3% on ice shooting percentage. That's like more than 150% times what he's been able to do in his career thus far. And honestly, like his deployment is not that great. James Van Riemsdyk, Trent Frederick were his line mates in the last game, playing power play 2 with DeBrusk and Geeky, Lindholm and Grishlik on the back end. Like, honestly, I'm not excited about Charlie Coyle. I think it's just as likely that he puts up 0 points this week as he has another good week for you. So I'm just pretty much out on Charlie Coyle. It might not be this week, but at some point, this is all going to fall apart for him unless something else drastically changes. You know, maybe he gets between Marchand and Pasternak and gets on top power play. I don't see that happening, but if that happens, sure, sign me up. I'm interested in Charlie Coyle at that point. Until that happens, and there's been no indication that they're interested in trying that, I'm just pretty much out on the player.
Damn, Charlie Coyle just catching strays here on the Apples Potatoes Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Damn it, Nate. All right, I'm in my right mind to change my streamer from DeBrusk to Coyle. All right.
All right.
Just for fun. No, I'm not doing that.
Oh man, that would be high quality entertainment, high quality podcasting, Blake.
Yeah, but, if I don't want to win, then definitely I'll do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Charlie Coyle, Casey Middlestat, corporate wants you to find the difference between these two players.
Well, one of them hits.
This is true. All right, we got to keep going. As much fun as we can have at Charlie Coyle's expense, I do want to talk about Trevor Moore and the season that he's putting together. He's been a point per game player this season. 47 goal pace is Trevor Moore on this season, including 7 points, 4 goals in his last 5 games. Doing this under 17 minutes, average time on ice, 66th in shots per 60 and 137th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60 over the last little bit. Pretty much this is a function of LA to me. He's always going to be one of these players who has pretty good shot numbers, does tend to put pucks on the net. He's in a heater right now where the pucks are going in. Right now he's at a 20.8% shooting percentage on the season, but quite honestly, he's been a pretty low efficiency shooter throughout his career, hovering around the 10% mark for most of his career, literally doubling that right now. And so I'm not excited about Trevor Moore's long-term prospects. I do think he's probably a 45 to 50 point player when all is said and done, at least at that pace from here on out, unless you got something different to say, Blake.
No, yeah, it's just he's a good player when LA has a good streaming week, and yeah, in deeper leagues you can definitely hold this guy. Like, I mean, he's on an 82-point pace, so like it makes total sense if you have this player. But yeah, this is not what Trevor Moore is known for. 20.8%. No, he shot 6.1% last season, and he's shooting 20 now. So you do the math, everybody. I mean, that's going to regress, but this is a very valuable player and a great streamer when LA has a good week, and they don't have a good week coming up here. So I think Moore, see you later, my man. Thank you for your service.
All right. Lastly, in the hot shots, we have to talk about the grumpiest man in the world, Brock Nelson, Blake's favorite player. 3 goals, 7 points in his last 5 games. And Brock Nelson's kind of been doing it this year. He's on a 41 goal pace, just 6 assists. That puts him at a 65 point pace for the season. But the underlying numbers are terrific here. 13th in shots per 60, 7th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60. Corsi 4 per 60 is 33rd and 42nd in scoring chances, 4 per 60 on the season. Honestly, I think like there's some headroom here for Brock Nelson. He's not even shooting as good a percentage as he normally shoots. I think the on-ice shooting percentage has some room to grow if the Islanders' other weapons can get themselves on track just a little bit. Not that they have many weapons, but I think they can be a little better than they have been. So I'm actually pretty into Brock Nelson. He's been a very consistent 70-ish point player for the last couple of seasons here, and now he's actually demonstrating a little bit of a different gear in terms of the individual numbers, which is pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, God. You know, I want to hate Brock Nelson. I really do, because of his face. I mean, you know, people, you can relate to this, everybody, right? There's some people that have a face that you just don't like, you know, but I'm sure he's a nice man with a nice family, whatever. And then I look at the underlying statistics and you're like, damn it, I have to be into this guy. Like I have to, because this is crazy. Like 13th in shots on goal per 60 on the season, 7th in individual scoring chances for. Damn. So yeah, I'm with you. This is a buy low, in my opinion. Like this guy could throw out some offers for Brock Nelson. Oh God, that would kill me. But I want to win. So, you got to Nacho Libre. Yeah, it's a good movie. Anyways, go out and get yourself some Brock Nelson. I agree with you. I think there's some headroom here. What's his on ice shooting? It's probably not too high. Like if he's, just
on the season, you mean?
Yeah, on the season. Yeah, so
10.3%. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, that has room to grow as well, right? Yeah, his teammates are not doing too much, and his efficiency's a little bit low. So I like the player. Oh God, this kills me, but yeah, go out and get some Brock Nelson. I think there's the 70-point season in this man this year for sure.
All right, I'm gonna clip that and replay it every day for the rest of the season.
I keep forgetting this is actually recorded. Like I have to stand behind these. Oh man.
All right, that's going to do it for Hot Shots. While you're here, if you could like and subscribe, if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to this, if you could leave us a rating and review, we would appreciate that. We are still trying to continue the war between Apple Podcast listeners and Spotify listeners. We've had some punches and counter punches in the ongoing war so far. We would like to see both sides continue to step up and provide those ratings for us. We do truly appreciate it as much as we make light of it here. While you're here as well, if you want to check out the show description, click the link, join the free Apples and Genos Discord server. You can talk to 900 other fantasy hockey managers about your fantasy hockey squad, get some advice, get some thoughts, talk about players, whatever you want to do, it's all in there. If you need some help with your team, you need somebody who will answer your questions, that's what I'm doing over at the Apples and Genos Patreon. Link also in the show description here. For $5 a month, I'll answer any question you have. And while you're here as well, you should check out the Apples and Genos website, applesandgenos.com. Fantastic work there from Mark Barber, who's posting daily summaries and weekly summaries that give you a quick overview of everything happening around the league, who's hot, who's not, what you should be looking at. Definitely a great way to start your day with some fantasy hockey know-how. All right, Blake, that's it for that. Are you ready to get into some have-nots?
I'm ready. I love the way you say fantasy hockey. I love that. Oh, man, that jacks you up. Oh, man, this is going to be good.
All right, well, first off, we were going to talk about Darnell Nurse, and what Darnell Nurse has done since we started recording this podcast is put up a couple of assists, so the numbers are a little bit better than what I'm showing here, but prior to this, he had 0 points in his last 5 games. Talked about him a little bit as a possible drop on the waiver wire show. The underlying numbers are not exciting. 131st in shots per 60, 81st in individual scoring chances for per 60 over his last 5 games. On the season, they're better, so it is kind of just a cold stretch here, has been for Darnell Nurse, and maybe that's turning around. Anaheim Ducks are a good team to turn around your offensive woes against. So maybe that's what's happening here for Nurse, but he is a tough player to roster if he's not putting up points. I don't know. Basically, I think it comes down to this. Do you believe in Edmonton moving forward? Because Nurse is definitely going to need McDavid and Draisaitl to be doing what they do, and for the Oilers to be scoring lots of points for him to get in on some stuff here.
Yeah, I do believe in the Edmonton Oilers. That's weird to say. Maybe that's a hot take. I mean, I know they've been terrible, but there's still a tiny window for them to kind of get going here. And I mean, obviously they're crushing Anaheim right now. It's 4-2. I mean, Draisaitl, McDavid, Nuge, Hyman, they're all doing the thing. Hashtag doing the thing. And yeah, Nurse is on the board as well with 2 assists. So, this week for sure, I always think about when I'm dropping a player, like, is someone going to rush to the wire and add this guy immediately? And I don't think that's the case with Nurse, even with 2 assists tonight. Like, it's not like he's getting a bunch of access to like all these points that these players are getting, except for tonight. And the numbers aren't great. So yeah, I think this could be a down season for Nurse in terms of his points. Like, he got 43 last year. I think he'll probably be closer to 35, something like that. So if that's valuable to you, then go for it, right? Obviously, he's a beefer, so hits on blocks, that's where you're getting your major value from Nurse. But if that's not a thing, like, I think you can just drop him and not worry about it too much. You can pick up a guy similar.
Fair enough. All right, let's keep rolling. Talk about some power play one quarterbacks. Jared Spurgeon and Sean Dursey. Both these guys pretty cold at the moment. Spurgeon has not done anything since coming back
Yeah.
from injury. 0 points in 5 games, 23 minutes. He's 53rd in shots per 60, so he has been doing a little bit of shooting. 103rd in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 131st in Corsi, 4 per 60. The numbers are not kind there. Dursey at least has a little bit better underlying numbers. He's skating more minutes, 25 minutes. He has 1 assist in his last 5 games, 19th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, but curiously has much less shots, 119th in shots per 60.
Weird.
On ice numbers are okay, I guess. 60th in Corsi, 4 per 60, 55th in scoring chances, 4 per 60. So between these two guys, I think most people are still taking Dursey, regardless of this little bit of a cold stretch. And you're getting more minutes. You're getting the same deployment on probably a power play that you actually trust more in Arizona versus what Minnesota's icing right now, which has had a tough time getting on track this year. So I think that's the common take. Would that be your take as well, Blake?
Yeah, I think it has to be, right? You look at what Dursey's been able to do on the season as well. Like 12 points in 20 games, it's a 49-point pace. That's not terrible. If you drafted Dursey and someone said he's going to get 50 points this year, you'd be happy with that. You'd be
Yeah.
absolutely happy with Sean Dursey and 50 points. So he's doing that, right? So we can't be too upset about that. I mean, he doesn't hit, so that really sucks. Only 7 hits in 20 games, but he blocks at a very good rate. So he's giving you some decent, value there. And his deployment is great. 23.5 minutes on the season. He's the power play one quarterback. He's good to go. Whereas for me, yeah, Jared Spurgeon, he's not known to be an offensive guy. Dursey he always was a bit of an offensive defenseman. Jared Spurgeon jumps on the power play out of necessity, right? Because they don't have anybody else to do that. And that's rough. Like, and they're in cap hell there in Minnesota. So it's not like they can just go out and pick somebody up. So it could be a bit of a slog for Jared Spurgeon. He's not blocking either. Like in some of his games, I'm just looking at the logs, like 3 games without blocks. That's kind of what he's known for. So, he's coming back off injury. He's getting the minutes. He's getting that power play deployment, but I do expect obviously that that power play is going to get going in Minnesota. Like Cap he scored a goal. That's fine. Boldy's still really struggling. Like he's not kind of matching up what his metrics show. So I think they're both by lows still. And once they start going at the rate that they should, then Spurgeon's going to run into some points. But yeah, I think Dursey's the clear choice there out of those two.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Obviously, I haven't seen anything from Spurgeon so far in his 6 games that he's played this season to really prove anything otherwise. I do think that Dursey has a little bit of unsustainability in his profile, shooting 13.2% on ice numbers. On ice shooting percentage is 13.6% as well. I don't think that sustains. The 38% IPP is maybe low for a typical top defenseman, but I don't know that Dursey is actually that guy. He never has been before in his career. So if you were expecting him to take a step forward in terms of his points participation, then you're expecting him to do something that he hasn't done before. And so that's the part where I'm a little bit leery on Dursey, and that's the part where I actually didn't have a terrific projection on him this season. I was pretty excited when he first got traded there, and I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely going to go on power play one, right about that. But then when I plugged in the projections, I was like, man, I don't know how excited I should really get about this. And so I'm still questioning whether we're going to see the IPP come up as the on-ice shooting percentage inevitably regresses. That will be the determination of whether he continues in this kind of 45 to 50 point pace or if he starts to slip below that in my mind. So that's my caveat with Dursey. I think I'm still holding him because we've seen some pretty good stuff from him so far. I'm not considering dropping him just yet, but I do think that I am a little bit cautious about Dursey. If there is some sort of sell window, then maybe you're exploring that if there's somebody else out there. I am still interested in Spurgeon, but I'm not really holding him at this point. I'm waiting to see something happen before I'm getting in on it. Spurgeon has been efficient in the past, but never been much of a terrific offensive producer, as you mentioned. So I think you're right on there. Another defenseman that we should talk about, especially with the Shea Theodore news, is Alex Pietrangelo. Now, Pietrangelo has done absolutely nothing in his last 5 games, 0 points, despite skating over 23 minutes a night, as he's wont to do. Underlying numbers are pretty solid, 59th in shots per 60, but 23rd in individual scoring chances for per 60. On-ice numbers even better, 18th in Corsi for per 60, 11th in scoring chances for per 60. Give me a take on Pietrangelo here. Obviously, you like the potential here with Theodore out, but when Theodore comes back, Theodore has really held down the top power play, and they've run a top power play a lot more. They've weighted things towards the top power play a lot more this year than they have in years past. So that's really hampered Pietrangelo on the season, in my opinion. What's your take overall on Pietrangelo for this week, and then I guess for the rest of the season?
Yeah, it's interesting. Pietrangelo is a defenseman that I'm never really interested in, and Shea Theodore either. I never really draft these Vegas defensemen. But that said, like this is a good situation for Pietrangelo, right? He's going to run that top power play. That's excellent. But yeah, the numbers are not really blowing the doors down. I mean, yeah, in the last 5, 19th overall in individual Corsi 4, that's nice. 23rd in individual scoring chances 4 per 60, that's nice. And the team numbers are good, but he plays on a good team. So at 46 points, he's trending towards right now. I think that's kind of where I'm at with Pietrangelo this season. I think that's reasonable. He is a decent shot producer from the back end, so I like that. And he's going to give you good periffs. But I don't know, this week for sure, like he should have a good week. I think this week will go a long way in telling where we're at with Pietrangelo, because he's got 4 games. I think he should play all 4 games without Shea Theodore there. So he's got 4 games as the power play 1 quarterback. Let's see what he can do. But I mean, 1 goal in 16 games, you kind of expect a little more. This is a defenseman who can get you double-digit goals, right? And he's had a slow start there. So I don't know. It's just not a guy I ever really pay too much attention to, because I never own him anywhere.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. Yeah, he has been a guy who's been pretty sneakily good in some points leagues, because he has gotten some power play one time and at least gotten a really solid share of the power play throughout much of the last couple of seasons there in Vegas. And then he blocks a lot, he shoots a lot, and so at the end of the season you count it all up and he actually looks like maybe like a top 20 defenseman. This year I think that might be in jeopardy with Theodore really taking over the top power play, and Vegas really leaning on a top power play for the first time in a long time there. So I'm lower on Pietrangelo than I have been in years past for sure. But definitely, I think, if somebody's totally out on Pietrangelo because of this recent stretch, then I'd be interested. But I think he's just one of these guys that everybody kind of expects the same thing from year after year at this point, just because he's a veteran who's done the same thing for a number of years. And so I'm not sure that I'm willing to, be in at that kind of normalized price point. Let's move over to Florida, where we got a couple of players. Let's start with Matthew Tkachuk, who has apparently forgotten how to score. 0 points in his last 5 games, despite skating 20 minutes a night. The underlying numbers are still there. 13th in shots per 60, 85th in individual scoring chances for per 60. So that's not ideal, but still respectable. 3rd in Corsi for per 60, 51st in scoring chances for per 60. Still on pace for 70 points, but just 12 goals on the season. Like, what's the deal here with Tkachuk, Blake?
It's hard to put your finger on it. This is like, it reminds me of, some of the players we were looking at last year, guys like Sam Reinhart, who's popping off this year, but he couldn't score to save his life in the first bit of the season here. And this is just rough stuff. Like, Matt Tkachuk is shooting 3.5% on the season. That's insane. Like, he's actually the highest shots on goal per game that he's ever had. He's averaging 4.3 shots per game. So that's looking good. All the metrics are looking good, but he's just not converting for whatever reason, right? And I don't know, that they had a long playoff run. Obviously, he had a broken sternum and then came back and he was good to go at the start of the season. So was he good to go? I don't know, right? There's some stuff we maybe won't know, but the fact that he's still kind of putting up these metrics, the ones that we like, you got to just stick with it, right? This guy is the ultimate buy low. Like, basically, put out as many offers as you can for Matt Tkachuk in your leagues, because this cannot and will not keep going. right? It's going to be floodgates. Once he's going to put together a multi-point game, he's going to put together 2 or 3 in a row, and then it's going to be blast off time. I still think that this guy could get 100 points this season, right? I think that's totally reasonable, but he's got to get going, obviously. Like, he's on a 70-point pace, right? And he's certainly got to shoot better than 3.5%. Damn. Come on, my man.
Yeah, I'm in total agreement there. Matthew Tkachuk, massive buy low at the moment, in my opinion. If anybody's super worried, yeah, going back to that Forsberg for Tkachuk talk, I think it's reasonable. I think I'm honestly still more confident in Matthew Tkachuk on the season. I think the situation is better. I think the player's a better talent overall. Forsberg may sustain this for a full season and just have a terrific season all season long, but we've seen it before with Tkachuk multiple years, and I'm just willing to buy in that he's not going to, shoot 30.5% all season. The team's not going to shoot 8.3% when he's on the ice for the full season. It's going to come around. Florida's going to get things untracked, and that should also positively help Brandon Montour, who has played just 4 games since coming back from his injury, skated over 24 minutes a night there, and he's 80th in shots per 60, not ideal, but 11th in individual Corsi 4 per 60, so he's definitely generating the attempts. Just needs to get a little more accurate there, I guess. 14th in on-ice Corsi 4 per 60 and 59th in on-ice scoring chances 4 per 60. Yeah, I don't know how much we can really get into the numbers with Montour. Obviously, a very small sample size here so far, but I'm still 100% confident in Montour. If anybody's panicking over a 4-game sample size on Montour, he's already back solo running the top power play unit from the back end. OEL's off it. I'm just completely confident that Brandon Montour is going to rock and roll once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Another buy low. I love that. Like, Florida, I just looked, like, Matt Tkachuk doesn't have a power play goal. 0 power play goals in 20 games. Matt Tkachuk, like, he had 14 last season. So that's going to come up. And then, Montour just taking his spot back. Yeah, he's coming off a major injury, a major shoulder injury, right? So we have to have a little bit of patience here, but he's in the exact spot where we want to see him, right? I just think, first off, Florida's power play needs to get going. Like, I'm just looking now, like they're 6th worst shooting percentage on the power play, right? But they have the highest Corsi 4. What, damn, like, it's just one of those things, right? They are not converting, and I don't think that that's sustainable, right? It's been 20 games, but I definitely have confidence in Brandon Montour, and I love the deployment right off the bat. That means he should be good to go. He's probably just getting his game sense back, right? The game speed back. But yeah, it's going to be blast off, and it's going to be soon. I'm hoping it's this week. They got that back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. I'm really hoping that both these players kind of pop for some points here.
Absolutely. I think it's coming. Let's move over to Philadelphia and Travis Konechny, who, after a torrid start to the season, is now down to just 1 goal and 1 point in his last 5 games. Still skating 20 minutes a night, 146th in shots per 60, still 24th in individual Corsi 4 per 60. So again, the attempts are there, the shots on goal are not. 19th in Corsi 4 per 60 and 48th in scoring chances 4 per 60. So the on-ice numbers look pretty solid for Konechny still. On the season now, he's on pace for 43 goals, but just 58 points, just 4 assists in 21 games for Konechny so far. Walk me through this. Obviously, I don't know about you, but I don't see Philadelphia as having a ton of offensive talent for Konechny to work with. They've moved around lines there, as Torts is wont to do. What's your take on Konechny? What's your point projection for him moving forward?
It's a good question. Tortorella is a big problem for me in fantasy. Like, he's kind of like a Rod Brind'Amour, but it makes even less sense sometimes. You know what I mean? You're like, like they don't win. So it's been frustrating the way Travis Konechny's been kind of bounced around the lines there. And even this last game here, like, granted, they only had 1 power play chance, but like, his unit only got out for 17 seconds of that power play. Like, what is going on? Why? Like, Travis Konechny, to me, is the best offensive player on that team. He's the best shot generator. He's the best chance generator. And he's a dog out there. Like, he grinds. This guy, he goes to battle every single game. So I'm not sure what's going on with the deployment there. That said, I mean, he's on a 59-point pace. I feel like there's more in the tank here. It's just, I don't know. The deployment was so big last year. It was over 20 minutes, right? Because they didn't have guys like Couturier and Atkinson there kind of eating up that time. And now it's 18:30 this season. Plus he's getting bounced around. We have to manage expectations on Konechny here. I do think the goals will still be there. Like, this guy's a great goal scorer, right? I mean, he's the new Kirill Marchenko. All right. He's but yeah, I think we got to manage expectations on his point projection. I don't remember what I projected him for. I think it was like 75 or maybe 80 even, but I think we're looking at probably closer to 60, 65 if everything kind of holds the way it is. But, you know, if he starts getting deployed the way he was last season, then we're okay. But it just hasn't been that way this season.
Yeah, and just going back to my projection here, I had him for 36 goals, 68 points, skating just under 20 minutes a night, and the time on ice is there. I still think I'd probably hold to that. That would be my kind of base expectation. Yeah, maybe he's trending towards a few more goals and a few less assists based on the early going here, but I still think that somewhere in that range, 30 to 35 goals, 65-ish points, that seems to be about right for Konechny in my estimation. Yeah, but Torts is going to Torts. Anytime you can get Morgan Frost out there on the power play over Travis Konechny and Sean Couturier and Owen Tippett on the second unit, you absolutely have to do that. All right, let's keep rolling and talk about Alex Iafallo over in Winnipeg here. I'm just going to double check one more time, but yeah, the Jets are still being shut out, which is, if that holds, that's going to cost me my couple matchup. So let's all root for a Jets goal to spoil the shutout here. Obviously, if you're listening to this or watching this, you already know what happened, but that's what I'm rooting for here. Yeah, maybe Iafallo can get something done here, but he hasn't been able to do so as of late. Just 1 assist in his last 5 games, under 18 minutes now, average time on ice, or before he was getting a little bit more. Still in the top line, top power play, doing those things, but the underlying numbers here are just putrid. 322nd in shots per 60, 248th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, 313th in Corsi, 4 per 60, 188th in scoring chances, 4 per 60. I don't know how that's possible while skating alongside Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, who's absolutely lighting the world on fire currently. But Alex Iafallo managing to do it. Iafallo's done this in the past. I've gotten excited about him. He's had a really nice stretch. He's had good underlying numbers, and then he just absolutely goes completely quiet and completely burns me. So I kind of just feel like this is status quo for Iafallo. You can ride him while he's hot, while he's doing well, but you have to be ready on the drop button with Iafallo.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And we got to remember too, Gabe Vilardi is close to returning, right? So that's going to nuke this guy. I mean, Alex Iafallo is a jack of all trades. He can play up and down the lineup. He's more of a middle six guy to me than a top line, top power play guy. He can do that, and he has, but I think we're kind of seeing what that looks like. You know, it's peaks and valleys with Iafallo. He's a valuable player, but yeah, not a guy. He's streamer level to me. Whereas like Gabe Vilardi, when he comes back, I think that's probably going to be a hold. I think they're going to give him a real good look on the top line, top power play. So definitely ride Iafallo until Vilardi comes back, and then say, see you later, my man. Thank you for your service.
All right. Last player here that I did want to talk about, I will throw him in here, is Matt Boldy. I've talked about Boldy a fair bit, and just wanted to throw him in here at the end to say I still absolutely 100% believe in this player. Averaging 17.5 minutes time on ice. Seems like he's being a little bit unfairly punished in my estimation. 46th in shots per 60, 4th in individual scoring chances, 4 per 60, just not being rewarded for it on the score sheet. Just 1 assist in his last 5 games here. I 100% still believe that greater things are coming for Matt Boldy. Seems to be elevating his game to a point where it doesn't even matter who he's playing with. He's able to elevate things all on his own. So yeah, 100% still in on Matt Boldy. I think this is a buy window. You should absolutely be going out to acquire Matt Boldy, in my opinion. My take and my stance has not softened with this recent stretch of play. So get yourself some Matt Boldy. What do you think, Blake? Am I being too bullish on a guy who's only got 8 points in 12 games so far?
No, but this is one of your boys for sure. And I think, yeah, I'm with you. This is a buy low, and I'm still in on Boldy. There's an interesting tweet just today from the head coach, Dean Evison. He didn't tweet it, but it was his yeah. I just got Dean Evison's burner account. No, but it was something like, talking about accountability to Boldy and like that he needs to step up his game. And it wasn't exactly a kind appraisal of this man's game recently. So it's just something to note, right? I don't know what's going on in that dressing room there. But when I see things like that, it's like a precursor to like a Patrick Laine situation. You know what I mean? Like I don't expect that at all, but it just gives me a tiny little bit of pause. That said, I currently have like 3 offers out for Matt Boldy right now. So, I think that this is a player that he's not Patrick Laine. This is a guy that can push through that. I think he's more dynamic and he can drive play better than Patrick Laine can at this point in his career. So I'm definitely in on the player, but just let's keep an eye on the situation there in Minnesota. They need some small wins, even if they're not getting the actual dubs. Like they need to start playing well, right? And get some goaltending. And Matt Boldy needs some wins. He needs to put a couple points on the board. 1 goal in the season, damn. No, that's no good. 2.9%. He's putting Matt Tkachuk to shame. Oh, man. So, yeah, Boldy, let's go. Come on. We believe in you, my man. Let's go, MB.
Absolutely. All right, that's going to conclude our Have Nots section. If we didn't talk about a player that you do want to hear about, look for Puzzling Players. I go live streaming on YouTube, 8 p.m. EST every Monday. So get yourself into the Apples and Genos Discord server where I send out a notification for everybody to hit me up with whoever they want to submit for the Puzzling Players segment. Get yourself in there, get your submission in. I talk about all the most requested players in this 8 p.m. EST Monday live stream. All right, Blake, let's move over, talk about the move of the week. Take it away.
Yeah, sweet. Well, it's interesting. We have some similarities in our moves here. So something that I did this week has gone better. First off, with my matchups, I've been having it's like a 500 stretch here with my matchups. That's what I feel like all my teams are like 500. And that doesn't feel good when you have a fantasy hockey podcast. You know what I mean? You want to smash people. All right. So that's coming. But yeah, it's been a slow start. Anywho, I had in a Cats league, I was down. I'm always down my goalie stats because I did 0G in a 16-teamer. I'm still working out the kinks. I got Kochetkov and Joey Decord now, but that show ain't no good. Anywho, I ended up picking up Goodbranson, Columbus, because obviously they have a great streaming schedule next week with the 4 off nights. But I had blocks was a category that I needed to win to sway the matchup, and this guy popped for 6 in a game. Goodbranson, you beauty, you bag of meat. Oh man, this guy's just out there throwing his body in front of a rubber puck going 100 miles an hour. I love this man. So yeah, I was able to take that, and I think I'm going to win my matchup because of it. So thank you, Eric Goodbranson, for your service. I also picked up Jeremy Lozon, a guy I mentioned on our Friday show, and yeah, he got me 2 points and a bunch of penalty minutes and a bunch of hits and blocks. So I think that's going to be a great stream, a guy I'm holding for next week. And lastly, in one of my, actually the listener league, I grabbed Alex Lyon this morning and got his start, and it worked out well. Obviously, you got the win. It's a close matchup. So if I do win, I think that goalie ad is going to be the difference. But I think I'm behind right now by 2 points. I need Philip Forsberg to get another point, and then I'll be good to go.
All right, yeah, my move of the week also involves Eric Goodbranson. So I had a Cats League decision. I had one ad left. My opponent did not have an ad left. I was up 10 saves, no one going tonight. It was likely, I think, going to be Hellebuck tonight, but there was actually a surprise, and Brossoit got the start here, which was, totally unexpected, just given the way that obviously Winnipeg leans on Hellebuck so much. He had started only 2 straight before that, and I thought they would probably go back to him for a 3rd straight, as they so often do, but they didn't. Which was music to my ears. But basically, I was going to have to wait around to figure out if Anaheim was going to start Dostal, because he was really the only other option. I'm pretty glad I didn't wait to see what Dostal's doing, because he's getting lit up by Edmonton at the moment. But I could have potentially grabbed saves there as a category, even with Hellebuck going, if I had gotten Dostal. But I decided instead, just based on the fact that I was going to have to make this decision one way or the other based on the start times of all these games. Obviously, you had some afternoon games, and then you don't have the Anaheim games starting until 9 p.m. EST. So basically I was going to have to make the decision without knowing whether Dostal was 100% in. And so while that might have basically assured me of saves, I went to Goodbranson to try to get me some blocks. And the one thing that really swayed my decision here, instead of trying to wait this out and try to make some other decision, I could have also chased, assists or shots with somebody else. Would have been a little bit more of a reach. Blocks and saves were really the bigger considerations as to which categories I was going to try to chase with this ad. But the big decision maker there was obviously Goodbranson gets me that block potential for the game here today, but also has the schedule for next week. So I thought to myself, even if this doesn't change my category for this week, I'm getting a guy who's really going to set me up well going into next week as well. And so give yourself outs, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at,
Yeah.
right? Give yourself the opportunity where even if the move you make is wrong for this particular instance, you get a guy who's going to give you something moving forward. It's not just going to be a complete waste. If that option is available to you, I think that's going to be the right option for you 9 times out of 10. Yeah, I did get the 6 blocks. It's going to come down to what Darnell Nurse is able to do. He's already got 4 blocks of his own halfway through this game against Anaheim here. So if Darnell Nurse continues to pop off in blocks, I might actually still lose it. But right now I'm a little bit ahead, just clinging on for dear life in the blocks category. Hopefully that comes through for me. But Eric Goodbranson absolutely did in this game here. Thank you for your service, good sir. Lastly, here we got to recap the head-to-head streamer deathmatch, and unfortunately, we get to call this one, even though the Nashville game is not complete. Ryan O'Reilly definitely outscored Nazem Kadri on the week, so Blake is up 5-1. What do you have to say for yourself, Blake?
I mean, it's not how you, whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game, right, Nate? Am I right on this? I mean, that's what I'm teaching the kids. All right, we're just here for a good time. All right. So yeah, I'm happy with myself. Ryan O'Reilly though, man, like he's still doing it. It's crazy. I mean, like I was saying to you on Friday, like I almost picked Ryan O'Reilly again. Like the guy's hot. Philip Forsberg going nuts. So yeah, I feel good about myself. Let's say that.
Last thing before we go, Josh Morrissey has scored for the Winnipeg Jets. The shutout is not there. I hope that's enough to secure victory for me. Actually, I should check. He might even have Morrissey, so I might have just screwed myself in another way. But regardless of that, that's all we've got for the episode. Hopefully, it brought you some value. I hope you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. All the advanced stats you heard today came from Natural Stat Trick, which is a terrific free resource. Many thanks to the band there for supplying the music for the podcast. Be sure to check out their Spotify as well. That's it, folks. Much love.